Even with Supermicrocomputer's stock price up over 23% in the last month alone, I still think that there is plenty of upside with this company. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about a recent news release that caused Supermicrocomputer's stock to move up by over 10% in a single trading day. We're also going to go over their upcoming earnings announcement, and I'm going to give my opinion on where I think their numbers are going to come in at. And finally, we will go over my personal price targets of where I think Supermicrocomputer could trade over the rest of 2025 and even into 2026. And let's start off by taking a look at the recent news that caused Supermicrocomputer's stock price to move up by over 10% on Monday, July 28th. And this move came on the back of news that Supermicrocomputer was named as the exclusive server supplier for a project being ran by DigiPower X, with most of these orders projected to come in the fourth quarter of 2025. If you haven't heard of DigiPower X, they are a relatively new company. They fall into a similar category as iRen and Nebus, two companies that I have actually made videos on. You can check them out on the channel, but basically what these companies are aiming to do is create energy efficient data centers. And basically they came out and announced that Supermicrocomputer is going to be the sole supplier for their servers on their new Alabama-based data center project. However, here's something that you need to keep in mind with this deal. This is a very small company. You can see here that for fiscal year 2024, they only brought in $37 million of revenue. For market cap, this company is publicly traded and they have a market cap of under $150 million. So this is a tiny company. However, these companies have been growing relatively quickly due to the demand that's needed for AI and all of the infrastructure that's really needed for some of these smaller companies. A lot of larger companies will go to people like Microsoft, Google, Amazon to base their platforms on. However, smaller companies will rely on companies like DigiPower to actually use their data centers. So overall, this deal is not going to move Supermicrocomputer's top or bottom line numbers in a massive way. However, it does speak to the strength of position that Supermicrocomputer has in the server market. For a company like DigiPower to sign an exclusive deal and say that they are going to work exclusively with Supermicrocomputer is a big deal because a lot of these companies have a number of different options. However, they want to find the best option at the lowest price and lowest cost of ownership. And that is clearly what they're trying to do here with Supermicrocomputer. The other thing to keep in mind is the money from this order won't actually hit Supermicrocomputer's numbers until about 2 quarters from now. So we won't see them reflected in their earnings announcement that's coming out here on Tuesday, August 5th. And honestly, that is a little bit unfortunate because I personally think that this might be a little bit of a weaker quarter for Supermicrocomputer. Right now, analysts are expecting bottom line EPS numbers to come in at 44 cents. That is down year over year from 62 cents. And top line projections right now for the quarter from analysts are even more concerning because they're only expecting $5.91 billion of revenue in this upcoming earnings announcement. That is only 11.4% growth year over year from $5.31 billion a year ago. But here's the thing. In my opinion, I think Supermicrocomputer will come in and beat these numbers by a significant margin. And that mainly has to do with the fact that the CEO during last quarter's earnings announcement said that a lot of customers were delaying their orders, basically saying that they were expecting a lot of these new orders to come in during the June or September quarter this year. Keep in mind that this last earnings announcement came out back in May of this year, and things were significantly different during that time period. People were concerned about the broader economy, and they were especially concerned about tariffs and the impacts that tariffs would have on companies like Supermicrocomputer and the AI industry as a whole. However, during that time period, Supermicrocomputer provided revenue guidance of anywhere between $5.6 and $6.4 billion of revenue. I personally think that they could come through in this upcoming earnings announcement anywhere between 6.1 and $6.5 billion of revenue. I'm not as optimistic about their bottom line numbers. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they come in line with what analysts are expecting, somewhere around that 44, maybe 45 cents of non-GAAP EPS. But honestly, the most important thing for Super Microcomputer moving forward is likely going to be their guidance. We have seen a number of different things change for the company in just the last few weeks to the last month. One of those being a lot of these chip companies now being able to sell some of their lower quality chips to China. That should have a big impact on Super Microcomputer and help their business overall. And we've also seen a lot of positive movement out of big tech companies as they have started to announce their earnings. One of those being Google. And they announced their earnings back on July 23rd. Google came through with cloud revenue growth of 32% year over year, now bringing in $13.6 billion of revenue. This is super important for Super Microcomputer because this is where Google's AI business really is showing that it is thriving. 32% growth is their highest growing segment in terms of revenue numbers. And that is very important to keep in mind because if Google is growing this fast in the cloud space, that means that they are very likely to continue to invest billions of dollars into this side of their business. And of course, this is not just a Google thing. Microsoft just announced their earnings today, and the stock is up by over 8% after hours. And this move is on the back of very similar news. Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, said that cloud and AI is the driving force of the business, as their Azure business surpassed $75 billion of revenue and is up 34% year over year. Ultimately, all of this is a very good thing for Super Microcomputer because what it means is these large tech companies are going to continue spending billions and billions of dollars on building out their AI infrastructure. If you think about it, this side of their business is the fastest growing part of their business. When you look at Google, when you look at Microsoft, they are getting their fastest top line growth from AI infrastructure. So they need to continue building out their AI infrastructure to continue this high growth rate. And what that means is more money going to companies like Super Microcomputer, like Nvidia, and like AMD. And ultimately, what this should do is increase the number of orders coming to Super Microcomputer. And as they see these orders increase, they should see their top line revenue increase. And as we see that go up, and we see some of these issues with tariffs get behind the company, we should also see Super Microcomputer's bottom line numbers start to go up in a significant way. When a company is growing their top line very quickly and their bottom line very quickly, we should see valuation expansion. Right now, Super Microcomputer is trading at a forward PE ratio of a 19.08. Right now for 2026, analysts have a low EPS estimate of $1.97. If they come in with only $1.97, basically flat year over year, then yes, a 15 to a 25 PE ratio is probably fair, which means that the stock price should be anywhere between $30 and $50 per share. However, the average EPS estimate is $2.75. That would be an increase of 32% year over year. With a growth rate for the bottom line of 32%, they should easily be able to achieve a PE ratio between 20 and 30, which would result in a stock price anywhere between $55 and $82 per share. The high expectation for EPS in 2026 is $3.25. That is a growth rate of 56% year over year, which at that point, super microcomputers should easily again be able to command a valuation between 25 and 35. That would result in a stock price between $81 per share and $115 per share. So the most important thing heading into the next couple of quarters are going to be their EPS numbers. I think that they need to start turning around their bottom line, and we need to start seeing them back with EPS around 60 to 70 cents per share. That would put them on track to hit this $2.75. If we could see them blow those numbers out of the water, let's say put up 70, 80, maybe even 90 cents of EPS in a single quarter, then they could be trending for this outperform number, and we could see the stock move up to around $100 per share, potentially even by the end of 2025. But of course, keep in mind that I am very bullish on Super Microcomputer. It is one of my top positions in my portfolio. This is the YouTube portfolio, and currently it is sitting at a value of $76,000. And throughout this video, we have talked about all of my top 4 positions in this portfolio. The first one being Google. I hold 77 shares. I have 240 shares of Super Microcomputer, 39 shares of AMD, and 10 shares of Microsoft. So keep all of that in mind. I am very bullish on these 4 companies, and I think they are going to continue to capitalize on the growing AI market. The other industry that I'm very bullish on right now is the healthcare industry. 2 of the companies that I hold in this portfolio that fall within that are United Health Group and Oscar Health. United Health is the only stock that I'm currently down on, which I am down around 9.2%. And then Oscar, I am up around 2.5% on. These are the 2 companies that I have been adding the most money to recently. But let me know down in the comments section your thoughts on Super Microcomputer. Do you currently hold it in your portfolio? Is it one you are looking to add? And what's your price target for 2026? Do you think that this stock can break $100 over the course of the next 6 months? Let me know down below. And while you're down there, make sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe if you enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching. And as always, have a wonderful rest of your day.